3. We're live. Greg,
Good night
introduction.
to the Belizean people at home and abroad. Tonight we bring to you our 47th edition of Belizean Affairs. Sitting with me virtually, no stranger to Belizean Affairs, Mr. Leonard Brackett, also alongside Mr. Roody. With that said, let's go to Mr. Wade for a reading, followed by a prayer by Mr. Brackett.
Thank you, Gregory. We get right to it because we have a lot to cover and so little time, right? So let's get right to it. And as usual, we start our program. We will continue to start, continue to keep up what we started with a reading, and then followed by a prayer. So I continue from Proverbs 18. Chapter 18, 1 to 10 says, whoever isolates himself seeks his own desire. He breaks out against all sound judgment. A fool takes no pleasure in understanding, but only in expressing his opinion. When wickedness comes, contempt comes also, and with dishonor comes disgrace. The word of a man's mouth are deep waters. The fountain of wisdom is a bubbling brook. It is not good to be partial to the wicked or to deprive the righteousness of justice. Sorry, the righteous of justice. A fool lips walk into a fight, and his mouth invites a beating. A fool mouth is his ruin, and his lips are a snare to his soul. The words of a whisperer are like delicious morsels. They go down into the inner part of the body. Whoever is slack in his work is a bother to him who destroys. The name of the Lord is a strong tower, and the righteous man runs into it and is safe. That's my reading. Back to you, Mr. Chairman. Sorry. Back to you, Leonard, for the word. Sorry.
Yes, sir. My name is Leonard Brackett. I'm one of the panelists on the show for tonight. It's my pleasure to have the opportunity to offer a word of prayer. If we can bow for a minute, please. Divine loving Father, we thank you for this privilege to come before thy presence once more. We give thee thanks for thy bountiful blessings and thy mercies unto us. We pray that thou mayest bless our family members, friends, and loved ones, wherever they are, as if they are each mentioned by name and number. To rest our hearts, our desires, even our most secret thoughts, loving Father. We pray that thou mayest bless our country of Belize, its people and its leadership. Continue to bless this country of the United States, its people and its leadership, and the rest of humanity, and especially those people who have need of food, clothes, shelter, and who are in harm's way, whether by man-made disaster or natural disasters. Please continue to be merciful unto us, and as we continue on this program, that we may impart wisdom and knowledge and truth, first and foremost. For we ask these mercies in Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
Again, good night to the Belizean people at home and abroad. In tonight's show, I hope we will bring to you something very, very educational and something also that will open your eyes to see what this constitution reform is all about. So with that said, let's get the program started with something from Lila Vernon.
The Creole culture.
Yes, guys. Thank you. That was a nice one. Like that piece there.
Good night again to the Belizean public at home and abroad. Gentlemen, tonight's topic, if you, the people at home and abroad, can remember, over our last two shows, we played some clips. Tonight, I am going to let the puss out of the bag. Not only was we saying it for a long time, but tonight I will prove to you the intention of the present government. So let's go to the first clip.
So why is the government flouting the referendum law when in regard to Oceana's petition with 22,000 signatures? You last told a reporter you were seeking legal advice, which is cause for great concern because you are the legal advice.
The government is not flouting the referendum law.
It gives no room for delay though, sir.
But you asked the question, allow me to respond. The government is not flouting the referendum law. Yes, so the Attorney General's ministry is the chief legal advisor. So the Attorney General, myself, I don't necessarily sit and draft all opinions. So within the Attorney General's ministry, there are crowns who would research and advise on these matters. I would review their advice, and if the advice is what having regard to my own research, then based on that, then we'd provide the advice. But let me say this: Oceana and the government, we are in discussion.
But the law makes no provision for legal advice. The law does not say if you don't want to do it in 6 weeks, seek legal advice. The law is unequivocal, sir. You are finding a shading of meaning when it suits you, but the law is absolute. It says you shall act in such a way.
Well, this is why the government seeks my legal advice, Jules, and that's your interpretation. But respectfully...
But is there an equivocation in the law that it allows you to seek legal counsel? Does it say that? Does it say you have time to review by the government's lawyer?
what I will say is this: Oceana, lawyers for Oceana and the government, we are in discussion. We don't want to prejudice any discussion that is taking place, but I do believe that within the next week or so, cabinet hasn't. Well, today would have been cabinet. Cabinet will meet next week. I had a meeting with the lawyer for Oceana, Mrs. Jacqueline Marshall, Senior Counsel, on Friday. We'll receive some indication as it relates to a way forward a proposal. Well, in turn, that will be submitted for cabinet. So next week, we'll be able to give some definitive answer as it relates to
But
that.
you guys are frustrating a democratic process.
No, we are not. We are not. We are not. We are having a discussion. We are having negotiations with Oceana.
But the law doesn't make provision for that. Either you certify the signatures or you decertify them. Where are you all finding the room to do all of this background negotiation? I'm saying either the law is an ass or it is obeyed.
That is your interpretation, and respectfully, we disagree. The government disagrees.
But I'm reading the law, sir. You are reading from some other book, from the executive playbook of how we do things.
No, Jules. Respectfully, you read the law. You've interpreted the law. There are different laws at play here, and the Referendum Act and the People's Constitution Act. So, as you will appreciate, the People's Constitution Act also speaks to a referendum, and a referendum after the whole consultation process with respect to the Constitution. Again, I don't want to prejudice any particular discussion or that we are having at Oceana, but suffice it to say that there is an interplay. There's a between both the People's Constitution Act and the Referendum Act. There may be difference of opinions as it relates to how the interplay actually operates. If indeed there is an interplay, you take a firm position that, well, there is no interplay. But yeah, but you know, and this is the beauty about the law. You know, the law does.
This is the beautiful lawyers. This is what you all love. But you're now breaking the law to create an impression that there's space for negotiation.
With respect, I strongly reject that, and you cannot seriously be suggesting as such. But I accept and I appreciate, you know, the vigor in which, you know, you may approach this matter given your interpretation of the law. But we'll have to disagree on this matter.
Gentlemen, you heard the video. First, I will go to you, Mr. Wade. Is the government flirting the Referendum Act?
Well, you know, I can't see how he could compare, you know, apples and orange. It's two different things he talking there about, and you know, my thing is that, you know, these guys, they have their agenda, you know, and he cannot differ from that agenda because he was placed there by this very same prime minister and the People's United Party.
Mm-hmm.
So he has to play by their rules, right? And you know, yes, he is the Attorney General, and you know, he should abide by the laws of this country and the Constitution of this country.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, that's another. You know, they are. You know, I mean, bow to whoever give them that post. But my thing is, like, the Constitution. Like, it hurts me to see now the level of this government because of their quest to pursue an agenda, which is to change the Constitution, and the manner in which they are going about doing it. Now, you see now that they are attacking our kids, right? That baloney, everybody will be consulted to the length and breadth of this country about what their intention is, and be educated on their rights, which they know that is not their agenda. That's not their agenda. So why are they doing it? That's my thing. Now they're going, you hear the chairman of the Constitution Reform Committee, along with his daughter, you know, they taking it to the school, you know, and they will educate the children, our children, on the Constitution. Their version, you know, their version. Now, that's, you know, to me, they're doing a disservice, right? Because they know darn well that they will change their mission at the end of the day. They will change the Constitution. So why going to the schools, waste the teachers' time and waste it, you know, taking this to the kids that will have no meaning, at all, right? So my point is that the level of how they are doing this thing, man, you know, you could never get a straight answer. You know, you hear the Sharon says that their goal is to reach 400,000 people. That's the figure he put out there, you know, on a survey, an online survey. They can't get it now. They know that they're beating a dead horse in terms of the lie that the Prime Minister says. Well, you know, they will educate the entire nation on the Constitution, right? So now they put it in reverse gear now and went online. They do online now, you know. And then on that online, there are surveys, my people, surveys. So you have to put. I want to ask the chairman. I really don't want to look at it. I have no interest in their survey because for me it's a phony baloney. I've said before, my Constitution, there's nothing wrong with it. Nothing wrong with my Constitution. Why I should encourage anyone to want to change it, right? So that's only me, or tamper with it. The only tampering I would like them to do is to add in, like for instance, you know, like I said before, put in it, we want elected senators, not appointed, elected by the people, for the people, not for a party or for a prime minister, right? We want elected senators for the people, right? And for instance, enshrining it that they will have to pass UNCAC, because that's what they're afraid of, you know, that name UNCAC, because it will cause a hell of a lot of problem for a lot of this country that has squandered the people's assets in this country, right? And the foreign minister already says that, you know, with all this and he passed a law now, you can't, the only thing that they will touch is from 12 years forward, not 12 years backwards, where he might have to be accountable. He might be held accountable, right? So he already passing that law. So anyway, my point is on the Constitution, you know, to me, you know, they are doing a disservice to this nation. And I would like to know from the chairman, you know, what is in that survey, right? What are the questionnaires? What do people have to answer, right? Well, we know already the surveys in the town hall meeting says one of them, I'll bring one of them, is that do the people would appreciate a president over the governor general.
Item number 12 and 13.
Item number 12.
12
And
or
what's the other
13.
one there? If you want Belize to become a republic, right? So, I mean, I'm just bringing up these things again because it's about educating the people of what's going on. These people behind the scene, what they are cooking up, and all to harm us, right? Because with no good intention, right? But my main thing is that, you know, I think that they should come truthful to the nation, and they're educating the diaspora, which when the diaspora has no voting power, right? They're in the diaspora, you know, right? For what? Right? They're not give the diaspora access. No, they want, well, like, yeah, well, you know, we consulted 300,000 diaspora and Belizean, right? And they will use that number and they will throw that out on us and say, oh yeah, 300,000 from the diaspora said it's okay. This is the survey that they, you know, they follow out, and it's okay that we are well in behind the government in terms of the constitution reform, right? So that's all hogwash, right? But you know, these people, they will go to whatever length to achieve their agenda, right? And we've seen it happen. And as far as Louisiana, right, I don't see those signatures. Like Jules says, you either certify it or not certify it, right? The law not give that provision to want to sit down and question and have a meeting. No, if the signatures are valid signatures, then it should be valid, right? The 20,000 people signatures should have been honored, right? But you hear the hullabaloo what the government guy said there, right? So anyway, but it's all about, you know, pushing through their agenda, and these guys will go through whatever length to achieve that. And the goal is to turn Belize into a republic, right? Where they will be sole slave drivers in this country, right? And they will continue to suppress our people, right? Because there are more important things that could have been done of employment, create employment, right? You know, ease the burden of the gas pump, right? Ease the burden of the poor people at the supermarket, at the grocery stores. Those are directly that is affecting us in this country, right? People don't want to change no constitution, right? But that's their priority. But anyway, I could go on and go on. Go ahead. Back to you, Mr. Chairman.
Greg?
Yes.
I think I went over my 5 minutes.
Before I start talking on my part of the, could you just play up one small part of that same thing again over? So not the whole thing. Could you roll back to just a small part?
Yes, I will. But yes, Mr. Wade, I thank you for your input. But I will say this to you. You was right all along when you said at the end of the day, they will get their agenda done anyway. I will tell you point blank. The PCC is set up, it is designed like Social Security, not for them to lose. You hear what I'm saying? I am exposing it tonight. The way they have it set up is for them not to lose. If you guys recall, on this platform, I have mentioned certain things. The first one, I said to you guys that the Governor Jen should not put so much power when she assented to the People's Constitution Act. It gave the Prime Minister X amount of powers. I will prove that tonight. Likewise, for them to say that the PCC The People's Constitution Act has more power than the Referendum Act, that
Crazy.
they will now take signatures that they do not want to certify, and they will place it below. The PCC Act is ludicrous. My cousin, let me play that again for you, because
Thank you.
tonight the people at home and abroad will be surprised. The whole shenanigan will be over. I also said Mr. Briseno had learned from Mr. Barrow what he did with the Constitution when he implemented Section 9 and the 69. Now he has went further to give himself power. They are trying to get away from the Referendum Act, and they are trying to come with the People's Constitution Act referendum. Let me play the clip.
So why is the government flouting the referendum law when it comes in regard to Oceana's petition with 22,000 signatures? You last told a reporter you were seeking legal advice, which is cause for great concern because you are the legal advice.
The government is not flouting the referendum law.
It gives no room for delay, though, sir.
But you asked the question, allow me to respond. The government is not flouting the government is not flouting the referendum law. Yes, so the Attorney General's ministry is the chief legal advisor. So the Attorney General, myself, I don't necessarily sit and draft all opinions. So within the Attorney General's ministry, there are crowns who would research and advise on these matters. I would review their advice, and if the advice is what having regard to my own research, then based on that, then we provide the advice. But let me say this: Oceana and the government, we are in discussion.
But the law makes no provision for legal advice. The law does not say if you don't want to do it in 6 weeks, seek legal advice. The law is unequivocal, sir. You are finding a shading of meaning when it suits you, but the law is absolute. It says you shall act in such a way.
Well, this is why the government seeks my legal advice, Jules, and that's your interpretation. But respectfully...
But is there an equivocation in the law that it allows you to seek legal counsel? Does it say that? Does it say you have time to review by the government's lawyer?
What I will say is this: Oceana, lawyers for Oceana and the government, we are in discussion. We don't want to prejudice any discussion that is taking place, but I do believe that within the next week or so, Cabinet hasn't, well, today would have been Cabinet. Cabinet will meet next week. I had a meeting with the lawyer for Oceana, Mrs. Jacqueline Marshall, Senior Counsel, on Friday. We'll receive some indication as it relates to a way forward, a proposal. Well, in turn, that will be submitted for Cabinet. So next week, we'll be able to give some definitive answer as it relates to that.
But you guys are frustrating a democratic process.
No, we are not. We are having a discussion. We are having negotiations with Oceana.
But the law doesn't make provision for that. Either you certify the signatures or you decertify them. Where are you all finding the room to do all of this background negotiation? I'm saying either the law is an ass or it is obeyed.
That is your interpretation, and respectfully, we disagree. The government disagrees.
But I'm reading the law, sir. You are reading from some other book, from the executive playbook of how we do things.
No, Jules. Respectfully, you read the law. You've interpreted the law. There are different laws at play here, and the Referendum Act and the People's Constitution Act. So, as you will appreciate, the People's Constitution Act also speaks to a referendum, and a referendum after the whole consultation process with respect to the Constitution. Again, I don't want to prejudice any particular discussion or that we are having at Oceana, but suffice it to say that there is an interplay. There's a between both the People's Constitution Act and the Referendum Act. There may be difference of opinions as it relates to how.
Thank you very much, sir. The last statement that the gentleman made about there's two different referendum issues at stake. What they are trying to intimate is that the Referendum Act and the referendum that Oceana was justifiably trying to seek to get implemented is being suppressed and oppressed and diverted because they're saying that the referendum that they would need to put in place for the changing of the Constitution takes precedence over Oceana's rights under the present Constitution. In other words, even the Prime Minister intimated that within a few months' time, the PCC should be able to bring to him some information that they can use to make amendments and changes to the Constitution. And for all intents and purposes, Oceana's desire to have a referendum may not even come to play then after that next referendum is held and the Constitution is changed. Because under the new proposed Constitution, they will not allow for any entity like Oceana and anybody else to be able to have any checks and balances on the government or to put the government over a barrel constitutionally. Because all those things would have been written out of the Constitution. And as a matter of fact, when the Attorney General speaks to and conflate the fact that because they are having a PCC activity going on, that means that they're not supposed to be honoring the existing laws because they're hoping to be able to come up with new laws that will trump the existing laws. That of itself is a facetious derogation of responsibility or of their duty, abrogation of their duty. Because what Oceana is dealing with, the present PCC has no powers over or authority to relate to or deal with or to sanction or not sanction and or cannot act as the court under a judicial review criteria. It is not for the Prime Minister to say that because the PCC activity that they generated, by the way, as a way for them to connive the people into allowing them to get the support of the people to change the head of state status as well as the Constitution itself, that if the if the PCC wasn't in place, the Prime Minister is stipulating that, well, he would have just went ahead and obeyed the law. What world is he living in? Who told him that he don't have to obey the present law because they gerrymandered a process that has no legitimacy to it as of today's date that we're talking? Other than because they went to the House and passed an amendment to authorize or allow for it. Before they went to the House and did that, they already had it in their mind that they wanted to have the outcome as, in effect, to change the Constitution. Otherwise, they would not have gone to the House and asked for that authorization. And within that authorization, they gave themselves the right and authority not only to amend the Constitution as they are currently entitled to do as a government, they gave themselves powers that are beyond the powers that are entitled by the government. That is, to arbitrarily and capriciously change the Constitution altogether, which is what they can't do in the House. They cannot just write out of existence the preamble and or the separation of powers structure or any of the other doctrines that we have been speaking about on this particular platform for so many months now. Those things they cannot touch and they cannot deal with, which is why they're trying to recruit the general public into helping them to overthrow the present system and the present governance, as well as to, for all intents and purpose, help them to commit sedition. but with the people taking the blame, while they take the claim and the powers unto themselves.
You are so right on that.
That is what the whole ball game is about. And people are being lied to and bamboozled and being used and misused. And because the people don't know the Constitution, they are being told that, oh, the Constitution needs to be changed in order for us to provide better governance. They have been ignoring the Constitution and breaking the Constitution and acting as scofflaws under the present Constitution. What do you think they will do under whatever new Constitution that they want to put in place? But anyhow, I'll defer for right now.
I thank you for your input, Mr. Brackett. But
Yes,
let
sir.
me say this, right? We have mentioned on this platform time and time over on Constitution Night that the present government has a supermajority, and under S69 they can create any laws they want to, except what? They
Tampering with
cannot
this
violate the
separation of
basic
basic
structure
structure.
of the Constitution.
Mhm.
No, under Section 3 to 19 is our fundamental rights. Section 20 gives us judicial review. And what does it say below the preamble? Any law that is inconsistent
Consistent.
with this Constitution is what?
Null
Null
and
and
void.
void. Okay, I'm saying this to you guys, so I will read this to the public to let the public at home and abroad see the inconsistency. And I will wait until my good cousin is back before I continue. Mr. Wade, you have been right all along, but these people think that no one would find out what they are doing.
Greg.
You know?
Greg.
Yes.
I have the whole program on the phone, and I was just stepping away, and I was listening to you in the background. So you could go ahead and say what you have to say.
Let me read this, right? To show you the inconsistency. All right? Part 5 of the People's Constitution Act, Section 21. The Prime Minister shall, within 60 days of receipt of the report submitted under Section 6, 1 and B, lay the report before the National Assembly. Section 22, Referendum Cap 10. A referendum shall be conducted where the National Assembly passes a resolution declaring that the matter stated in the report, whether the Belize Constitution should be repealed and replaced or amended, is of sufficient national importance that it should be submitted to the electors for their view through a referendum. Now, ladies and gentlemen, Section 21 and 22 under Part 5 of the People's Constitution Act is inconsistent with the present Constitution, and it should be null and void. Again, Section 5, number 21 and 22 is inconsistent with the present Belize Constitution, and it should be null and void. There is no way that the present Governor Jane can assent it or to amendment that will give the present government the powers over national security, which is a part of the Referendum Act, and also the powers for him to call referendum. It is inconsistent, and I will prove it. So when the Attorney General was talking about the people's constitution, also speak about a referendum, as though that is precedent over a referendum act, it
It's
is
conflating. Bogus.
bogus. Okay? Everything we have mentioned, I have said it, it has come down to this. First, let me play this clip, and I want you to listen clearly to the bogusness.
I don't think it's a matter of willfully ignoring it, but we felt that since we already have the People's Constitutional Commission ongoing right now, that would be the best place to be able to address it through the PCC, since they were asking even for the amendment of the Constitution. So we felt that it would have been best to do that. But what we've done as a compromise with them, we're working on an amendment, basically, as what we did with the marijuana issue, that whenever, should the day come that we want to do any kind of exploration in the sea or the ocean, it depends on, which way they want to take, that then we will then have a referendum. I've not seen the exact wording, but pretty much that's what the Attorney General just briefly shared with me, and I think probably next cabinet next week, he will then bring the actual proposal and the wording.
Is this a rule of law issue though? Because I know your government on the side, Musa is the one who first implemented this referendum legislation, and the law does not make a provision for a review, as you all are doing, and make a look point another way. The law says within X number of days, a referendum is triggered if the signatures are certified. You all are playing with the law, it would appear.
Absolutely not. It just so happened that at this moment, we have appointed by law, voted in National Assembly, the People's Constitutional Commission. And so we felt, why go through that? Why spend millions of dollars in a referendum when the People's Constitutional Commission, the commission is going around countrywide, getting recommendations from the different groups of people, different communities, and I hope that within a year's time, I think they have probably at least another 6 months, they can come up with a bunch of recommendations to myself as a Prime Minister as to the way going forward. So I think it was just the opportune time. It's just a matter of timing, and that this is happening at the same time. Obviously, if the PCC was not in effect at that moment, then the law is a law. We'll probably have to go ahead with the referendum.
No, gentlemen, I will prove it to you, my host, and to the general public at home and abroad, that what I was saying all along is the truth. Okay? Let me read this piece again. Section 22. Okay? It says in a part of it, right? In fact, I'll read the whole thing. A referendum shall be conducted where the National Assembly passes a resolution declaring that the matter stated in the report, whether the Belize Constitution should be repealed and replaced or amended, is of sufficient national importance that it should be submitted to the electors for their view through a referendum. You know what that is saying? That if the National Assembly sees it fit to say, well, you know what, we will amend it or repeal it, they can do that without a referendum. It is designed for them to have their way. And you know what? I always say these people tell on themselves, right? And a blessing in disguise. We might not see eye to eye with everybody, but everybody sometimes bring forth the truth because I want the public to hear this now, and I will play it hard so everybody can hear it.
Work. And even if they still waste their time at the end of the day, and I speak specifically to the PCC legislation, which says a referendum is possible if deemed of significant importance. So what does that even mean? Which part would be of significant importance? And so the whole process is centralized. Again, the whole process has built or designed an inequality into the process that ensure that the parliamentarians at the end of the day get to do whatever they want and claim they've done something substantive. And I call it out for what it is, BS.
Now, gentlemen, bingo, there it is. Now
it
let
was-
me hear from you guys.
Can I go ahead, Mr. Weird? Can I
Go
jump
ahead,
ahead of you?
Leonard. Yeah, go ahead, Leonard. Go ahead.
It was BS from the get-go, as I first intimated 2 years ago when I pointed out that the Prime Minister was interested in putting forward this, at that time, was PCR? Anyhow, PR, People's Referendum Commission or something like that. But anyhow, the name has changed, you know? But from way back then, I've been pointing out that the whole thing was a charade or charade, you know? Because it was never intended for them to get the permission of the general public to make the laws that they are currently empowered to make. All they were trying to do was to recruit the public to become, like my cousin always say, sovereign citizens, to help them get rid of all the vestiges that connect to the British Empire and the British head of state. They wanted to commit sedition, but not take the blame for it. So they try to get us all to go for a ride with them so that we can be pointed out as the people of Belize wanting to have them make changes to the Constitution, and the changes that they had in mind to make, they could not make without trying to hoodwink the people who don't know anything about the Constitution and who would open up and say, yes, we need to have the Constitution changed. So go ahead and change it. And they will just go ahead and change it and put in what they wanted, which then would become the basis for saying that we, the people of Belize, decided that we do not wish to be a part of the British Commonwealth anymore, and that we wish to become a republic country, electing our own head of state. But as of right now, if they bring that to the people and espouse that and try to run that as the main sham game, they can be charged for treason. They can be charged for sedition. But they're not telling the people that. They're not willing to tell the truth. As of today's date that we are talking right now, and we're reviewing these tapes over again, the Prime Minister is lying when he says he's not flaunting the law. He's not flaunting and trying to stop the people from getting their referendum. It is only because now we have this thing in place, this PCC in place. So therefore, since we're waiting for the PCC to come within a few months' time to give us some information, or not us, give him, because he said, give me as the Prime Minister. That's what he said. For him to decide in cabinet what they're going to do with what they give him. So why don't wait until they find out what they have to find out and give him what they give him, and then they could decide what they want to have the new constitution reflect. The present constitution speaks nothing about a referendum in regards to the Oceania issue. The PCC has no authority to speak on those matters as regards to the present constitution. They have no power or authority over the present constitution. It's not like we suspended our governance and our legal authority in the country while the PCC is operating, or that we're operating under the legal authority and vestiges of the PCC's decision making. So when the Prime Minister is going to say that he is not trying to cheat the people out of the referendum, and that, well, if the PCC wasn't in place, that the law is the law, and therefore then he would have honored the law. The law is the law, and he should honor the law right now. But he is trying to defer until they get their constitution in place, which will, as far as he knows, and he's not telling the public again, will not be hamstrung the government from doing what the government wants under their leadership, which is why they're trying to get the whole of this thing wrapped up before this term is up. I pointed that out from the very first time when they decided that they wanted to launch this thing as well. That they were trying to make sure that they get this Republican constitution process underway and completed before the term was up, so that if there's a need at the end of this term, there may not be another election in a democratic Belize, because it will not be a democratic Belize. It will be a Republican Belize, but under, more likely than not, a state like Nicaragua or a state like Cuba. A lot of our people in Belize know what's going on. Some of them are just playing the fool and pretending like they don't know. Some of them that know what's going on are in on the gig and are supporters and willing participants in betraying the country, because they know that we have a Democles sword over we head in terms of this Guatemala issue, and we don't have an army to fight to keep the integrity of our country together. Barbados didn't have nobody to claim their territory. Jamaica don't have nobody to claim for their territory. Many of the other Caribbean countries don't have nobody claiming their country. Maybe Guyana has Venezuela claiming their country. But why are we allowing these knuckleheads to bamboozle us into playing games with we country and for we security, just to give them power over us, to misuse us and abuse us more than they are currently doing? Just for $50 or $100 every 5 years. Divide $100 into 5 years and see how much dollars you have for the year. Or not dollars, I would say pennies. How much pennies you have for the year. Because $100 divided by 5 years is $20 per year. And you have 368 days in a 1 year. So $20 divided by 366 days are literally pennies. That is what people sell them birthright for. Because when these guys finish, sell out for we country to the highest bidders and to all the people who they come and want to do all kind of tourist this and tourist that and venture this and venture that, and then they take away all of we local government assets and give it unto themselves or their cronies. And then they come to we, try tax we, forget the money for pay for a government in the country. When then they give away hundreds of millions of dollars worth of tax breaks to people who are supposed to pay their fair share of tax, so we can have the money to manage the country. But these jackals and these hyenas and drunkos and vultures and vipers, they don't have any concern about the well-being of the people in the country. So long as they could suck some blood out of the country, they will care less what happened to the people. As many people that are dying there from malnutrition, dying for hunger, dying because they fight each other over one 50-cent piece of weed, because they want the money for the weed, or somebody credit one piece of weed or a piece of crack from somebody, and they not pay, and they go and ask them because one leave $5 or $10. The people are living in a bunch of craziness while these elites, or so-called elites, because Greg, Mr. Please take over. I was about to disrespect myself.
I thank you, Leonard, for that. But the question now becomes, you have about 18 attorneys that is helping to teach the people about their fundamental right. How come not one of them can see that Section 5 of the People's Constitution Act is inconsistent with the present Constitution?
They don't care. They have no interest in those kind of issues. They don't even respect the present Constitution to which they swore allegiance. They're trying to eviscerate the whole damn thing. While they started out initially claiming that maybe people want to change certain things. In fact, in the teaching, I saw the classes then when they give that the Constitution has defects and faults, and that's the reason. That's part of the reason why they need to address those defects and faults and make changes. They're trying to justify getting into making changes so that they could add in what they really want to have.
At the end of the day, they are doing, as I said, the exact same thing the past government tried to do. Get rid of the Referendum Act. That is what they're trying to do. They are actually taking away the national security that they can't do. They are failing with external policy and internal policy. They can't solve the Sarsoon issue. They can't solve the internal policy as we speak. And as I said before, it has changed now to where a writ should go to the Governor General, to the National Assembly will decide if it's of importance of national security to hold a referendum. If you recall, gentlemen, I mentioned this before. If they were serious about doing it the right way, the first thing they would have done was have a plebiscite or have the referendum to see who all wanted to change it. Now here we are down the road.
But how can they expect
it?
But Greg,
you know,
even at that point, they would still be totally out of order because our people, 98% of the people, knows nothing about our Constitution. So even if they had a referendum as to whether or not they want to change the Constitution, what is it you want to change in the Constitution? They're not asking the people that question. They know what they have in their pocket ready to put in, along with whatever they get from the people.
You know,
right?
Before I go to you, Mr. Wade, honestly, I have to tip my hat off to Mr. Roscoe because he's not taking the shenanigans. He spilled the bean.
Because he is
regardless of what we think.
He is mad that they don't want to take God out of the Constitution. So he's upset about that. He's grinding his
regardless,
one.
Regardless of that, listen to what this man is saying. This right here, listen.
And even if they still waste their time at the end of the day, and I speak specifically to the PCC legislation, which says a referendum is possible if deemed of significant importance. So what does that even mean? Which part would be of significant importance? And so the whole process is centralized. Again, the whole process has built or designed an inequality into the process that ensure that the parliamentarians at the end of the day get to do whatever they want. and claim they've done something substantive. And I call it out for what it is, BS.
You heard it? You heard it for yourself. Now you know the marijuana referendum is not of importance. The 20,000 signature is not of importance. That is what happened.
All
It
I want
couldn't have
is the
been
support.
said any better than that.
All I want is the public's support to go into the Constitution and change the Constitution under the guise that the people wanted a change, and they will take out the change that they already have in their back pocket waiting and put it in the new Constitution, which will then stipulate that they do not have to have a Governor General to get assent of powers from. They will not have to abide by any of the constitutional criteria that we currently have and we are now mostly taking for granted. They will have a constitution that will allow them to be in power or retain power or control power for eternity if they so want. Like I said, like Nicaragua, like Cuba, or like any of these other countries that the power is vested in the head of the country, their own head of state, who has gotten that power by nefarious means. The powers that these guys have in their hand has been gotten from the people. We, the people, elect them, only for them to turn around and betray us, to look after their own interests.
Well, the answer is there, you know. The answer is there because they will say, you, the people, wanted that.
Which is the game.
Exactly, turning them into sovereign citizens. But also, Mr. Wade, do you see the answer that the Attorney General was looking for? Do you see the inconsistency? How can he say the People Constitution also speak of a referendum? Man, that is bogus, man. That is inconsistent with the present Constitution. The whole amendment, Section 5, is null and void and must go. They do not have the power to do that. The Governor General cannot grant them that power because she herself can be moved. She herself can be recalled because she's assenting to an amendment that is taking away the powers that is invested in her, who's represented the state.
Yes, but the government, the powers of, sorry for jumping in, Mr. Weir, I know Greg calling you, but I just want to make the statement. The government is empowered under the executive powers of the country, which is controlled by the Governor General, by the way, for people who don't really understand what the Constitution stipulates. And the government of the country is accountable to give to the Governor General any report that relates to the governance of our country. So if we had a Governor General who really knew what they were doing and should be doing and exercising those powers the way they are intended to be exercised, rather than just exercising them, as some people say, as a figurehead, because that's how they really want the Governor General to appear, when in fact that is not true. The Governor General is the one that has the power of executive control of the country, and that power is delegated to the Prime Minister and the Ministers of Cabinet. But they are supposed to report to the Governor General at the Governor General's behest. Our present Governor General is not in the pattern of exercising that level of power. Any citizen or organization in the country should be able to complain to the Governor General of any misfeasance or malfeasance or any mismanagement or any wrongdoing that the executive of the government is involved with. or any wrong that they do. You don't have to go to the court to seek redress. That's one avenue. If you're thinking about legal, then you go to the court. But if you're thinking about administrative, you go to the head of state. Because it is the power of the head of state that controls the executive. But in Belize, we have the executive. They get the authority by virtue of the legislative body.
If you recall, and I will go to you, Mr. Wade, do you remember, if you recall, I always said that SIs and policies
Do
does
not
not trump the Constitution. And here we go, bingo. If you recall, I spoke about amending the Constitution, formal and informal. Here we go. It's happening right in front of our eyes. Mr. Wade, let me hear from you.
As you know, we see the pattern, and we see the road these guys are driving on. From the very first time that the people gave them that mandate, we saw their intention, right? Now, I say this to say that, you know, their agenda, right? We know their agenda. We talk about their agenda. We see the games they're playing, right? And like you says, Greg, they tell on themselves, right? You see, they start mentioning that new identity, you know, it comes from their very own mouth, you know, right? Tell on themselves, right? They talk about separating from the crown, right? You hear all of a sudden Mr. Henry Charles, you know, and all the other, the two Musa brothers and all of them, they see that, you know, separating from the crown is necessary, right? So you see where the chief and the little Indians are right behind, you know, because they collectively, they have an agenda. You know, these people have super majority, right? In the House to pass any law they want to pass, you know. And who are there to stop them? Shine Barrow can't stop them. Only 4 of them or 3 of them. 2 of them don't show up, or don't, all the other time only 2 of them. So they already know that, right? So now they got to get this thing clean, like we said it now, that the mandate from the people, right? The mandate from the people. So you know, you know, when they pass that law that Belize become a republic, and whoever is as the leader of the PUP then will be the president, right? You know, they will do whatever they want to do, right? And as far as the Governor General, you know, we heard that saying that just a figurehead. In theory, rightfully so, because of how any government, the past 3 Governor General had appointed, right? UDP appointed their own, and only use the queen, then it's okay. Like the PUP, the same thing. Oh yeah, they appoint their own, I call them cronies, right? Figureheads, as they have a mandate that they do not honor. They have, you know, they have their duties that they should perform legally, which they do not honor just because the way they got to sit on that seat, right? So my point is that who are there to stop these people in turning Belize into a republic? It's so sad that these guys all of a sudden sit down and they dream about that, and wow, you know, instead of we got prime minister, man, let me try. We want to be a president too, man. We want president here in this country, right? And look at the way they sit down. This is the way how we have to do it, right? So, but you see what happened, right? Now they're not worried about people and nation, you know. You see, then they worry about that clan, right? To hold control, to talk about slavery, ban. No, slavery is alive and well in this country, right? Because you have certain sector in society who looks down on the poor, still poor and less fortunate, with a very bad gum in their mouth, right? That want to see a poor man lift himself up from poverty. As the poor man, poor Belizean try to lift themselves up, so can a line pass, or so you can't do that, or they take away what you, or they taxation you, or they don't want to give you that license, right, to do whatever you want to do. But here you come now, the big corporation and the big people, they could come in, right, from all over the world to come in and they could become masters in this country, right? But like I say, right, you know, so sad to see that what is happening in our country, and they are in go now to the heat of this, right? That I would really like to see, right? I would like to see that they sit in the house and they create employment, right? Lobby, like I said before, lobby over the world and beg them, like how they like to do, beg for some factories, right? To come into this country, bring and set up some factories so people could get gainful employment, right? So kids don't have to go to bed without eat, right? So that, you know, people could have a lively, you know, way of life. Lobby for some medical equipment, beg, like they like to do, right? Beg for some medical equipment that the poor people need, right? When they go to these, right, government institution, there is no equipment, right? No labs to do the tests, no medication, you know. But do they have poor people at heart? No, because, you know, they could pick up and go any part of the world and get their medical attention, right? For those who the U.S. had not taken away their passport. I mean their, you know, visas, right? The rest could go. I mean, they could go any part of the world and get medical attention. But this is what I would like to see this administration doing, right? You know, you hear the agriculture minister, we will tap up price gouging. My price gouging is still happening, alive and well, right? Who you think the minister might feels that, or side or the Musas feel that, or the Brisenials feel that, or any one of these ministers feel that? No, they don't. But the poor people feel it every time. You got people working for $200 a week, right? They're out of that, you know, the bills they got to pay, and yet they cannot buy food here. These people have no shame, right? Instead of they're looking to, you know, reduce the price of fuel, right? Which is this present Prime Minister would never do, right? Because I understand government, right? You know, they got that fuel out of book. Has to go to his gas station. I just find that out, right? Which is a damn shame. Hasn't this guy got enough, right? Look what he did when he first sat on the seat, right? He removed all the contracts from BTL, right? And gave it to himself, right? Of the service that BTL was giving the people, right? In terms of the government, for those who do not understand what I'm talking about, giving to the government. He
And then
took it.
and then you have some people where agree with her to make you take them contracts for yourself. They can't say, oh well, UDP may do the same thing. So they don't care
Conflict of interest.
you want, then go ahead and do it.
And who talk about these things? All these man, this guy is thinking about his business, and getting richer and richer and richer, and to hell with the country and to hell with the people, right?
Mm-hmm.
But nevertheless, though, they will come back begging in the next couple of months, begging you again, you know, right? Give us a chance, man. This time we do right by. No, this time I'm gonna raise. I'm gonna bring down the price of fuel. This time, yes, man. And this time, will give me one break. Go again.
Catch you again.
And don't forget the crook that left the last government that left us the way we are too, right? You know, so I take this time out now to encourage all independent thinkers who are not, you know, sucking anything from a UDP, sucking anything from a PUP, or depends on any hands-out or you know, compromise in any way to any of these politicians. Independent thinkers, this is the time now to put a name up as independent candidates across this country, because the service that the People's United Party is doing to this right now is outright. Any infant could see that. Any standard 2 or standard 3 could see that, right? And I'm pretty sure that we'll not forget what the UDP have done to this nation also, right? So I call, for my closing, I call on the independent thinkers in this country. This is the time now, this is the time the people of this nation need to know. Put on a name up, right? Because it's time for change, real change. Not from to ready to go. That will stop. Right? And let's do it before this man gets that report from Mr. Chanoa, right? Let's do that. And that's what I want to say. You know, thank all those who come into us or loyal supporters, and thank them, right? And again, you know, we are the voice for the poor and less fortunate, right? We are the voice for the voiceless, and we speak truth to the nation.
Amen.
That's my closing.
I thank you for your input.
Thank you, Mr. Wade.
I thank you, Mr. Wade, for your input. But gentlemen sitting with me virtually, this goes to show you, if the government of Belize would go to this extent to try to change the constitution in a bogus way, just imagine what will happen if Belize becomes a republic. Because we have been saying it all along. We have been pointing it out all along. Every move they made, we were right on top of it. We are still on top of it. And as I said, they are always doing what Mr. Wade telling
on themselves. Their real intention, right?
Right.
And
every time they do something, they tell on themselves, you know? So my thing is this.
Not forget the education department, right? What is free, right? I would like the Minister of Education to come to the nation and tell the parents, the people of this nation, what is free in the education department. What is free? I always say that, right? Sad reality. And they keep coming with it over and over. Well, we'll give free education, you know, just like us, right? Tell me what is free, right? Because parents, they take a lick. Poor people, they take a lick, send their kids to school, and after they graduate and come out, no job. No job, and they wonder why there has crime and violence in this country. Right? Where are the jobs? Greg, do you remember he says the unemployment is what, under 2 point what? Or 3.8%? What planet this man is living on? Right? Can't live in Belize.
I know.
Right? You know? Sad. And you know, like I say, you know, this guy would never, since, you know, he took office, right, had never tell the truth to this country, to the nation. Never tell the truth. Always lying and lying. Just listen to that guy. Just listen to the man. Right? But like I said, you know, they need to complete, man, right, and start to be treated of people and country, right, and stop the self-interest and self-greed and the nepotism, right?
Mm-hmm.
Big problem in our country. Past and present government, when they come in power, they bring in their own people, right, and ignore qualified people, ignore other people, right, and bring in their own. Have no knowledge, but they come and get big high position, right? They leave office, another one come, they won't close, right? To service them. So sad, you know, these things gotta stop, right? And we call it out. Sorry guys, sorry, Mr. Chairman.
No, that is okay. I applaud you for what you are saying, because truth always prevails. But tonight, of all nights, you see how we point it out. You see how I bring it clean to the people, to let them see what these people are doing.
Let me say a little about 1 minute. The guy Roscoe, you know, he's not my cup of tea, you know, but he speaks truth. He you know, for whatever reason he said that, but whatever he said is true, and something that we have been saying all along, right? So there you go, right? Right there,
give me another 20 seconds, 30 seconds at the most.
Yeah,
I was searching for something here quickly. Whatever.
You know, he has his own agenda too. I mean, like Leonard says, you know,
you know, God in our constitution,
he does not want the name God in the constitution, right? I don't know what kind of individual would say something like that, right? And I understand they haven't been getting paid, so maybe that's one of the reason he came out. That's one of them step out and speak out. You know, I understand that they're having problems getting paid, right? So, but like I say, you know, we have been calling it out all along. You know, we see them for who they are, and we see their agenda, and we speak about it, right? And we are still speaking about it, right? So I wish more like him, or excuse, I don't want to, you know, for him to get fed, either him or her, right? But the individual, we need more like him to come up and speak out, right? And it to happen because slowly people are
you know, I have a clip with him and Sono where he had a lengthy conversation. The man was about to quit because they're not getting it together. He's saying it plain. The minister who is supposed to be over it is doing nothing to assist, as well as the funds not getting through. So there's a lot to be said about that. But my thing, as I was saying, I believe that when you are a government and you are doing shady stuff and talking about yourself, you will be exposed. Because while most people don't read, I read every law that is passed. I go through every house meeting. I listen to everything that is said, and I will go back and check. Constitutionally, I will check it to see if it is inconsistent with the Constitution. And here we go. The PCC, the People's Constitution Act, Section 5, is inconsistent with the present Constitution. So it should be null and void. There is no way that can fly as that. And I have posted it. Hopefully, it is up there for the people to see what it says. You know, Mr. Brackett, I go to you as we are on time at this time, and that would be my closing.
Another 1 minute comment, Greg. I really need to read this stuff.
Yes, go ahead, sir.
No. I mean, another minute of comment. Go ahead.
Mr. Wade?
You see, these guys, they're all businessmen, They get elected and it's business as usual because, they got to service who fund them. They got to return back the favor, right? These things got to stop. I call on the people of this nation, to watch good, who they're casting their vote for, and like Leonard always say, that $20 and that $10, ain't gonna get you nowhere at all, or that little beer or drink or little whatever they give you, it's only good for a day or for an hour or for a minute. Start to look at these guys long and hard, because when you keep supporting corruption, right? You keep supporting the same crooks over and over. What is that telling you, man? You gotta turn away from that, man. You gotta do better than that, because when you do that, you only affect yourself, you affect the entire nation, right? When you go and support the same crook over and over every election, you support a PUP crook, right? Knowing that he's a crook, right? You're affecting the whole nation when you go and support a UDP crook all the time, right? He's out there publicly as to the ills that he had done or continue to do, and you still support him because when he comes back, he's give well, he 100 this time, right? These things got to stop, man, or make a promise to you, right? These things got to stop, right? Because we all see their intention. We continue to see the things they do, right? They get elected, they think that you work for them, they don't work for you. It shouldn't be that way. You elect somebody to work for the nation, for entire Belize, red, blue, green, white, right? What color? You have to be very careful now, man, in who you elect, to serve and protect, because you see that it's not working. See publicly that it's not working, right? You see the man out in the Keys, right? He's gonna come back.
It's showing,
right?
It's showing more and more every day, Mr. Wade.
Yes.
I said it once. I said it twice. The country is going more and more left. Look on the report that, right? It's going way left.
Right. Like you said, look at the report.
And it won't get any better.
Won't get any better because we keep electing the same people with the same mindset. What make you think the PUP will come back with something better for you? What make you think the UDP will come back with something better for you? Right? Come on. Right? Which
I
one of
finally
them is
found it.
better?
I found it.
Go ahead, Leonard.
I run out of time though, so I won't be able to read as much as I want to, but I'll just take the 2 minutes and then we close off. No, I won't. Okay. I have an article here that I wrote back in October 20th of 2021, about 2 years ago. Belize Constitution Reform Commission. Belize PM hiding behind, so beware. Take heed, Belize. Belize lacks talent, intelligence aggregation, and deciphering analysis. 1. Does the Prime Minister of Belize, Honorable Mr. John Briceño, understands contextually the meaning and implication of the term or word sedition as imbued or used and outlined in the Constitution of Belize? 2. Does the Prime Minister of Belize, Honorable Mr. John Briceño, realizes or knows that neither he or any other official Belizean are above the laws, Constitution of Belize, and could be exposed to charges of sedition for seditious intended activities or intents and activities? Number 3, does the Prime Minister of Belize, Honorable Mr. John Briceño, abhors or disagrees with the Constitution of Belize as it currently is, and would like to arbitrarily and capriciously make changes, which appears to be his wet dream? Number 4, does the Prime Minister of Belize, Honorable Mr. John Briceño, understands, realizes that the Constitution of Belize, as a living, self-preserving document, provides guardrails, protocols, procedures, processes, and practices for lawful legal constitutional amendments and alterations thereto? Number 5, does the Prime Minister of Belize, Honorable Mr. John Briceño, really accept the limitations on his powers as Prime Minister of Belize, whilst not being Belize's head of state, as is Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II, from whom he acquired assent of power to govern Belize? Number 6, does the Prime Minister of Belize, Honorable Mr. John Briceño, wishes Belize to dispense with all remaining British colonial vestiges that currently overshadows Belize's conditional independence, as its predecessors, former prime ministers, did? That particular one is very critical in terms of understanding what the Prime Minister is thinking and how he's operating in terms of what he's trying to get this PCC to do on his behalf. Number 7, does the Prime Minister of Belize, Honorable Mr. John Briceño, truly knows and understands what is the British High Commission and its purpose or functions in Belize, as compared to a British embassy in other countries? Number 8, and it's the last question, does the Prime Minister of Belize, Honorable Mr. John Briceño, understands and realizes that he cannot be found to be attempting to suborn the Governor General of Belize, who serves at the pleasure of the head of state, and whose appointment is subject to recall? And it goes on for quite a few more paragraphs, of which I will not belabor because we are out of time right now. And that is my closing for tonight. I hope whatever we have said here tonight may be of some importance or good purpose to you, the listeners, tonight, and those who will be listening. As we notice, we get a lot of listeners, hundreds of other people tune in on their own timing. And so therefore, we just want to express our sense of gratitude and thankfulness to those who tune in and listen to what we have to say. and I hope that it will make them a little bit more cognizant of what's going on and how to deal with these things, because somehow or another we will have to deal with them as a member of the society at large in the country of Belize. Thank you very much and good night. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for such a good program. Thank you, Mr. Wade, also.
Thank you, guys.
That's it, Greg. You sign up? Greg? Can I sign up or play a lead music or something quickly? What you up to? I see the moving in the background, but not I know they hear nothing. There was some people that made comments. I made a comment, and then there's another one that it should be submitted to the electors to the referendum. There's some comments from YouTube, but they don't say who it's from. Greg, you want to sign off? Extra pass for time, brother.